Sunday, I'm Filipino and welcome to BMC News. We are your trusted source of engaging stories and breaking news from the heart of the Philippine American community. Are you ready for the variety of news we have for you today? Just stay tuned as we have important updates and some amazing stories to share. Mayor Sotto confronts Pasig protesters, discovers they are from Quezon City. On Monday, Pasig City Mayor Vico Sotto confronted a group of individuals staging a protest against the construction of a new city hall, only to discover that the protesters were not from Pasig but from Quezon City. In a Facebook post, Mayor Sotto shared that he had received information on Sunday about a planned protest involving over 300 Pasig residents in front of Pasig City Hall. Wanting to address any concerns directly, the mayor went to the location to engage with the protesters.
QC, taas kamay! QC! QC!
Mga QC po sila. Tanong po, pwede natin sagutin po. Medyo malaki po talaga. Kaya tama lang na magtanong ang mababayan. Tama lang po na magtanong ang mababayan. Pero, huwag po sana na dahil sa masamang politika.
Sotto expressed his openness to addressing legitimate questions but condemned the use of dirty tactics. He revealed that an investigation showed the protesters were organized by a political group, though he did not specify which one. He hinted that this group is known for issuing press releases to train others.
Ba't kayo pumunta dito, sir?
Gusto lang namin makita si Lea kasi nagtotoo lang kami. Tama lang talaga kami.
Hindi nyo alam ba't kayo nandito?
Wala kaming idea. Promise. Basta sinabi, pupunta lang daw kami dito.
Our next report, Manila to file diplomatic protest anew versus Beijing. Manila is preparing to lodge a formal protest against China following a dangerous encounter involving Chinese fighter planes that threatened a Philippine Air Force patrol over the West Philippine Sea. The incident has heightened tensions in the disputed region, prompting the Philippine government to take diplomatic actions to address the escalating situation.
No? Pwedeng mahigop dun sa propeller or sa intake or pwedeng
escalate, but every time of course na may nangyayari na ganito, certainly it tends to raise tensions. So it's something that certainly we have to pay close attention to. Every time something like this happens, siyempre you begin to
Hindi tayo pwedeng pabayaan ito kahit nasabihin ng publiko, diplomatic protest or whatnot. We cannot not do it kung hindi nag-aakit.
And here's the message of the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea issue. Are you ready for an adventure of a lifetime? Dive into our ultimate guide to Southeast Asia's hidden treasures and must-visit attractions. From the bustling streets of Hanoi and the iconic Petronas Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur to the tranquil beauty of Enlil Lake and the idyllic Gili Islands. This video takes you on an awe-inspiring journey through the region's top travel destinations. Experience the vibrant cultures, breathtaking landscapes, and ancient traditions that make Southeast Asia a dream destination for every traveler. Wander through Bangkok's lively markets, marvel at the majestic temples of Angkor Wat, and unwind on Bali's serene beaches. Join us as we reveal the Southeast Asia treasures, complete with travel tips, must-see spots, and insights into the local way of life. Whether you are an adventurous backpacker or a luxury traveler, there is something here for everyone. to American news. Stay tuned and sit back and relax as we bring you important news. New polls show Kamala Harris leading in several states. The latest poll numbers indicating Kamala Harris lead in some states could have significant implications for Donald Trump's campaign. If Harris continues to gain traction, it could challenge Trump's standing among key voter groups, particularly in battleground states. This shift might force Trump to adjust his campaign strategy to counter Harris' momentum, possibly by focusing more on states where he has traditionally performed well or by addressing issues that resonate with undecided voters. Our next report: Italian Air Force jets from Fisi Tricolore conduct colorful flyover of Philadelphia. Now let's watch the video recorded of the wonderful Italian jets, and the source was made by the 6ABC Philadelphia. Philadelphia's Monday morning skies were transformed into a vibrant spectacle thanks to the Italian Air Force. The renowned Fisi Tricolore aerobatic team soared over the city in a stunning 10-jet formation, leaving behind their iconic trails of green, white, and red smoke. The Fisi Tricolore, the demonstration team of the Italian Air Force, is currently on a North American tour, their first in over 30 years, bringing their aerial artistry to new audiences. U.S. officials warn of imminent Iran-backed attack on Israel amid rising tensions. U.S. officials have raised alarms that an Iran-backed attack on Israel in the already volatile Middle East. In preparation for this potential threat, the U.S. is bolstering its military presence in the region. This comes in the wake of two high-profile assassinations: Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran and a senior Hezbollah commander in Beirut, incidents that have further inflamed tensions.
France, Germany, and Italy. We, the leaders of the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and Italy, discussed the situation in the Middle East. We expressed our full support for ongoing efforts to de-escalate tensions and reach a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. We endorsed the joint call from President Biden, President Sisi of Egypt, and Emir Tamim of Qatar to renew talks later this week, with an aim to concluding the deal as soon as possible, and stressed there is no further time to lose. All parties must live up to their responsibilities. In addition, unfettered delivery and distribution of aid is needed. We expressed our support for the defense of Israel against Iranian aggression and against attacks by Iran-backed terrorist groups. We called on Iran to stand down its ongoing threats of a military attack against Israel and discuss the serious consequences for regional security should such an attack take place.
Now, you had earlier on this segment saying could be within the week. Ultimately, the Iranians get several things here by delaying, but make no mistake, this is not some sort of accidental delay. First and foremost, when they responded to the killing of Soleimani, their former chief terrorist in Iraq, who was killed by a U.S. drone strike in January 20.
A post from Lucas Tomlinson from Fox News, quote-unquote, he said, Pentagon Defense Secretary Austin has ordered USS Abraham Lincoln strike group to accelerate transit to Middle East after exercise with the Italians Friday in the Pacific. Now let's watch the interview
The Iranians aren't going to back down
Andrew
after
Pratt
seeing all of that in the
Fox,
region? Why
together
not?
with Benham Ben Talibu of
Let's
FDD.
hope they do,
Okay.
but if past is prologue, they believe that this architecture, this growing defense architecture, is for the purposes of deterrence by denial, mainly to engage in that big intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance mission to track and detect and intercept the projectiles the regime fires. They're hoping that if there is some kind of a military response, it'll be quarantined to the proxies away from Iranian territory. Again, that's the strategy of fighting to the last Arab. But the Islamic Republic is looking on actually a not good track record for the United States. There has been no kinetic response by the Americans to the increasing ballistic missile use or tests or transfers throughout the region over the past decade. You can even go back and look at declassified CIA documents from the late 1980s talking about this same phenomenon with terrorism, that if the regime is not made to pay an equal or commensurate price for the strategic use of terrorism, it is going to continue. And continue from the 1980s, it did on steroids, such that the regime remains the world's foremost state sponsor of terrorism. So we have fundamentally been in this gridlock with the regime where, despite the greater conventional capabilities, they doubt our will to bring those capabilities to bear, because we have actually had issues bringing those capabilities to bear.
I see. You know, Benham, at the time of the April 13th attack by Iran on Israel, that had never happened before in Israel's entire history and existence. We're talking about it happening a second time. I mean, what does that say to the overall, regional posture, the conflict that's still brewing there? What do people in your circles say that this is going to become something with more regularity? I mean, it had never happened before in April, before that, and now we're talking about it happening for a second time. I mean, that's quite unprecedented as well. Does that give you pause to think about the future of the region, that this is going to be very, very restive part of the world for a very long time?
It certainly does mean that, because of growing military capability. Make no mistake, there's been a revolution in the long-range strike capabilities of this regime. They have the largest ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East. There's stories now of a potential ballistic missile transfer reported soon to be happening between the Iranians and the Russians. Iranian drones today can be found on at least 4 different continents: South America, Europe, Asia, and of course Africa. So Iran's weapons proliferation is on steroids. And again, because they have not paid what they assessed to be an equal or commensurate price, they're going to be stepping up. And when you mentioned the April 13 attack, I'm glad you highlighted the historicity of that attack, because it's also been, for 45 years, the Islamic Republic has been fighting the Israelis from the shadows.
Right.
But this increasing confidence in the capabilities is moving it out of the shadows. And the belief that they survived the past round is driving them to underwrite the next batch of escalation. So again, it's not just about war fighting. It's not just about the tools. It's about the political signals that the use of some of these tools sends. And because the regime kind of believes it got off scot-free because the Israelis couldn't claim their successful April 19th strike, we have the conditions now for a potentially wider regional war.
Okay, we do have live pictures there. I believe that's in Tel Aviv. Also, we have this on the Israeli-Lebanese border, and then, of course, in southern Israel, looking into the Gaza Strip. So just a smattering of some of our live pictures right now in the region. Benham, before we let you go, is all of what we have been discussing directly correlated to the very fact that Hamas is not coming to the table for the latest round of negotiations in the ceasefire talks? Israeli officials described to Axios that this is a, quote, now or never moment for a potential deal between Israel and Hamas. Why is Hamas not going? Are they waiting to see what Iran does? Are they sussing out Iran's response to all of this here? What are they up to? Because yet again, they are rejecting to come to the table.
It could be as complex as that they're waiting for some kind of sign. Lest we forget, this is a patron-proxy relationship, despite there being considerable distance between the two. Hamas, after all, is a member of the Axis of Resistance. Tehran doesn't need to get on the phone with them every day, but these two like-minded terror entities, one terror state and one terror group, intonate each other because they share similar strategic ends vis-a-vis the Israelis. So they're able to intonate and intimate with one another. The other thing, of course, is that, lest we forget, the Occam's razor approach, simplest explanation is the most likely, is that this is a terrorist group. And this terrorist group is not interested in some kind of deal that would rid it of the hostage leverage that it has, because it actually does fear. It's seen the Israelis successfully take out top leaders, be it Ismail Haniyeh recently, Salah Aruri in the past, Muhammad Deif more recently, and it knows that its days are numbered, so it's trying to drag out the conflict for as long as possible.
I think, viewers who don't follow this war so closely each and every day, the minute details, the momentary updates, hour by hour, they have trouble grappling with that seeming conundrum that almost the entire Hamas leadership architecture has been taken out. And yet Hamas, yes, has the hostages as leverage, but they don't have anything else, do they? Or do they? I mean, how do you grapple the two? How do you reckon with that?
Well, it is obviously the fact that the Israelis prioritize and prize human life, and therefore they're able to dangle the prospect of a hostage deal quite literally as long as the hostages remain alive. So that is something that Hamas has been doing. And second, of course, is that this is a group that is interested in actually acting on the things that it says and acting on the ideology. And to that end, what they're trying to do is to blunt Israel's military successes it had first in North Gaza, then Central, and then South with Rafah, and then with the securing of the Philadelphia corridor. So it's trying to buy time to overtake the Israeli political successes through the introduction of political problems. So it's trying to use politics and a changing international context have had.
All right, we're going to have to leave it at that. Always a really insightful conversation with Behnam Ben Taleblu with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Behnam, thanks so much for your time. I know it was late.
It's definitely scary, right? The tension surrounding Israel is truly escalating. The situation is under constant surveillance, and global powers are actively working on diplomatic solutions to prevent further deterioration, even though the region remains highly tense due to the looming threat of conflict. They have called on Iran to immediately halt its military threats against Israel, cautioning Iran about the severe implications that such an attack could have on the security and stability of the region. The international community is clearly concerned, as any escalation could have widespread consequences, potentially drawing more nations into the conflict and destabilizing the broader Middle East. That's all for today's edition of PMC News. Thank you for joining, and stay connected with us through our social media accounts and website. For now, this is Faye Pino wishing you a great day.